Hi everyone. I have just spent a week in bed with someone very special, and I thought I'd give you a little report. So, the one I have been in bed with for 1 week is the famous COVID, the syndrome that everybody in the world is fearing as if it was the worst thing on the planet. And it's just been very interesting to have a direct experience with this syndrome that we are all fighting all over the world. And I'd like to start by saying that, first of all, I am considered a healthy person with strong immune system, and I'm not in one of the special groups of especially um, vulnerable people. So I'm not in the group of elderly or people with special respiratory problems, or thank goddess, I am among the big group of what you could say, in this sense, relatively normal people. And I have been pleasantly surprised by my interaction with COVID because it has been far less horrible than I thought. I would like to say also that I have been very helped by good vitamins, zinc, something called artemisinin SOD. I'm not in any kind of health profession. I just pass on the tips. Vitamin D, D, and something called glycine. I don't know what that is, but I think it's some kind of vitamin. It was my health practitioner who recommended this, and I would say it has been very pain-free, and it has been a few days of fever and then some headache, and that's it for the symptoms. But what I have encountered as well is very, very been very, very tired. So that's why I have, in spite of it just lasting a few days, I've been spending a whole week in bed. And so now I wanted to recommend those vitamins, but also it has made me reflect on what is it that we fear so much. And here I'm not talking about the people who are in a special group, but what's wrong with being in bed for a whole week? Actually, it hasn't been unpleasant. I've been sleeping and sleeping and sleeping, and I've been very grateful I do have a bed and I do have roof over my head, and the world is not falling apart because I spend a week in bed. So it's interesting that we as a culture really want to avoid being knocked out for a week or two, that this is considered something we must at all price avoid. I actually find it has been some kind of reset. Um, and I was inspired to do this little video because I'm reminded of the process that we know from when the caterpillar turns into a butterfly. There is actually a time in between the caterpillar and the butterfly where there is no caterpillar and there is not yet a butterfly. So there is this emptiness. And I'm assuming that the caterpillar in this state is in a sleep state. And that's how I felt, that I was just sleeping. And at the end of all this sleep, I don't remember, who am I? What am I doing? What is my profession? What's so important? I could remember essentials. My children, take care of my children. But all the other things have just faded, and it reminded me of this process with the caterpillar turning into a butterfly, that maybe this is a reset. Maybe this is like cleansing out. Your fever has been cleansing out some stuff. The headache has been evaporating some stuff. I don't know, but I'm just suggesting maybe it's not so bad to spend some time in bed and just sleep and sweat and get rid of old stuff before we enter a new era. And maybe it's not so bad to disintegrate some of the old stuff, to forget the normal, because I believe we are all entering a new era. So it's actually not so bad that we forget normal, because normal is the problem. All the things that we do on autopilot are not necessarily good, nor for ourselves, nor for the world. So I am making this little video to remind those of you who are very afraid of this illness that maybe there's not so much to fear. Maybe it could be helpful with a week offline, with a week off track, with a week of forgetting the same old, forgetting business as usual, forgetting who you thought you were, forgetting where you thought you were going, and just surrendering. It's been very interesting to observe that I have had no temptation to feel like a victim, because actually I did choose this myself. My children got home from school and were affected, so I thought, let me just take it, because then uh, yeah, easy peasy, just take that illness and see what happens. So I have not felt like a victim, because I chose actually to allow this to happen. Um, and I've not felt like manipulating with it or getting rid of it. I've just surrendered to it. And I think this has been a very, very pleasant experience, just surrender. It's not pleasant to be ill, of course, and it's not pleasant to be tired, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's part of life. And actually, I feel that my immune system has been it's been good for the immune muscles to work at something and to have a project and to get activated and to have to do something for me to get me well again. It's fascinating what the body is capable of, and it's beautiful to see it fight for us. So, so little message here: not much to be afraid of, in my experience. Now, I know that if you're in um, one of the vulnerable groups, and this is the problem, we don't necessarily know beforehand if we are in one of the vulnerable groups. So I say this with a lot of respect for the people who did not know that they were more vulnerable than they thought. But most people, I would say, especially I saw my children get very fast over. It's like 2 days, and then they were off again. So it's wonderful to see that, at least for most normal children and young people, this is also quite light experience. So just a piece of good news. I think we need some good news here in the darkness, and a reminder that this too shall pass. We are in the middle of a huge transition as a culture from one era, one paradigm, one set of rules into another era, another set of rules, another paradigm. And of course, this is not a light endeavor. Of course, this is something that takes a huge shift, a huge inner shift and shift in the outer. So of course, the world is in a turbulent place, but I can recommend finding some stillness and peace inside, because at least then there's quiet here. And that, I think, is also affecting the outside world. So surrender has been my little way of going about this, and that has absolutely not been bad. So wonderful to see all these people on this call. If anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer. Now that I function a little bit again and that I don't sleep all the time, it's actually good to be out and hear from everybody. But my main message is, nothing to fear. Transition is not to be feared, it's just a transition. And being in no man's land or no woman's land between one state and another state is not so bad either. I think what causes the problem is fear, being afraid, afraid of trying to avoid resisting, and being afraid something will happen, and if we contract something, being afraid that it will be serious, and that is very, very bad. I intuitively believe for our immune system, it can really not recommend resisting and fearing, because it does weaken us. But surrendering is just like being carried along by some force of life. And then with the good help, I mean, I would say it's wonderful that we have all these remedies here, natural remedies. We can do a lot ourselves to strengthen our immune system and to help ourselves heal faster. So if anybody wants, I can send you the details. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for looking, and I'll see you soon again. All right. Bye bye.